I was desperate for cash, so when a local 24-hour laundromat offered $45 an hour for the midnight to 6 a.m. shift, I didn't ask questions. The manager handed me the keys, pointed to a laminated sheet taped under the counter, and told me, follow them to the letter or don't bother coming back. I figured he was just an eccentric boss, some old guy with weird control issues about his machines. I was dead wrong. The interview lasted about 3 minutes. He didn't ask for experience, didn't ask for references, just looked at me for a long moment like he was deciding something, and said the job was mine if I could start that night. Rule 1. If the lights flicker twice in a row, count the customers out loud. If the number's different than it was an hour ago, don't react, just keep working. I remember reading that one and thinking it was the most pointless rule on the whole sheet. Lights flicker in old buildings, that's just wiring. The second night, around 1 in the morning, the lights flickered. Twice, right in a row, almost too perfectly timed to be an accident. I stood there behind the counter feeling stupid, actually counting heads under my breath like an idiot in front of nobody. 6 people. Same 6 people who'd been there an hour earlier. Same baskets, same machines running. I went back to restocking the detergent dispenser. About 20 minutes later, some instinct made me count again. 7. Nobody had walked in. I would have heard the door. That thing chimes loud enough to wake up the whole block. I'd already learned that the hard way twice that same night. But there was a man sitting in the back corner now. No basket, no machine running near him, just sitting, perfectly still, angled just enough that I could tell he was watching me, even though I couldn't see his face clearly under the fluorescent lights. The rule said don't react, so I didn't. I picked up a shirt off the folding table and I kept working. Throat tight, pulse loud enough in my own ears that I couldn't hear anything else. I gave it 30 seconds before I let myself glance back up. 6. Just 6 again, like he'd never been there at all. I didn't sleep that whole day, just lay in bed staring at the ceiling, running the numbers over in my head, trying to convince myself I'd miscounted the first time. Rule 2. If washing machine number 7 starts spinning on its own while it's empty, do not look inside the glass. Pour exactly 3 cups of bleach into the detergent drawer and walk away. Reading that one, I remember thinking, okay, this is clearly the crazy rule. This is the one he's messing with me on. Machine 7's probably just an old unit that needs maintenance, a loose belt, something mechanical and boring. Third night, 2 in the morning, dead quiet. No customers, just the hum of the vending machine and the drone of the overhead lights. And machine 7 starts thumping. Not spinning, thumping, violent, rhythmic, like something heavy slamming itself against the inside of the drum. And it's empty. I know it's empty because I checked every machine myself less than an hour earlier out of pure boredom. My legs moved before my brain caught up with what I was doing. I walked toward it. I don't fully understand why even now. Some part of me just needed to know. I got close enough to see the glass fogging up from the inside, condensation forming in patches, and for maybe half a second before I could stop myself, I looked. Dark, wet hair, pressed flat against the glass from the inside. Long strands of it, matted down, like a face was pushed up against that window from the other side, straining towards me. My whole body went cold, not scared cold, actual cold. The temperature in that one spot dropping fast enough that I could feel it on my arms, goosebumps rising before my brain even processed what I was looking at. My hands were shaking so badly I dropped the bleach bottle the first time I grabbed it off the shelf, and I remember the sound of it hitting the floor tile echoing way louder than it should have in that empty room. 3 cups, exactly 3, no more, no less, because I had no idea what would happen if I got the number wrong. I poured them into the drawer with my heart slamming against my ribs so hard that I could feel my own pulse in my ears, and I did not look back at the glass, not once. I just walked, straight to the far side of the store, back against the wall, and I stood there until the thumping stopped completely. It took almost 4 minutes. I counted every second of it. When I finally turned around, the machine was still, glass clean, fogless, empty, like nothing had ever been in there. Rule 3. Never let the front door stay propped open past midnight, even for a delivery. If it's open more than 10 seconds, something else decides to come in with the draft. I watched this one happen on my 4th night. A delivery driver dropping off a shipment of dryer sheets propped the door open with his foot, maybe 15 seconds total, hauling a box in from his van. And this cold hit the room. Not night air cold, not normal weather. Wrong cold. The kind that has no business existing in the middle of July. Sharp enough that I actually saw my own breath for a second. Nothing walked in that I could see. No shape in the doorway, nothing crossing the threshold. But when the delivery driver left and the door swung shut behind him, I noticed the glass had fogged up on the inside, low near the bottom, the way it does when something's breathing right up against it. And pressed into that fog, right at knee height, like something small had leaned into the glass from the outside, just before it cleared, a handprint. Too small to be an adult's. Gone within seconds, the fog burning off on its own, but I saw it before it did. The air in that laundromat didn't feel normal again for almost an hour afterward. Every machine that was running slowed down, just slightly. The spin cycles dragging like the power itself had thinned out. The delivery guy didn't seem to notice a thing, just dropped his box and left, whistling to himself on the way out. I locked the door myself after that. Every single delivery, no matter how much they complained about waiting. Rule 4. If you hear your own name called from the hallway by the utility closets, do not answer and do not go check. There is no one back there who is allowed to know your name. I heard it on my 5th night, clear as anything, my actual first name, called out from that hallway in a voice I didn't recognize at all. Not deep, not distorted, just wrong somehow. Wrong in a way I couldn't put into words even now. It was almost 4 in the morning. I hadn't told a single customer my name. My manager only ever called me Kid. I put my headphones in and folded laundry with my back to that hallway until my breathing evened out enough to trust myself to keep working. I never turned around, I never checked. Every instinct in my body told me whatever was calling my name only got to keep calling it if I never answered back. By my 5th night, I wasn't questioning the rules anymore. I was just following them, exactly, completely, without hesitation. Because at that point, I was pretty sure my life actually depended on it, and I wasn't interested in finding out for certain. Rule 5, the last one on the sheet, and the one that scared me most just reading it that very first night. At 3:15 a.m., a woman in a yellow raincoat will enter asking for change. Do not speak to her beyond what's required. Hand her 4 quarters. Look only at her shoes. Tell her the dryer is finished. If you look at her face, she will not leave. I remember thinking of every rule on that sheet, this was the one written the most carefully, the most specific. Like whoever wrote it had learned exactly what happens if you get even one part of it wrong. 3:15 a.m., my 6th night. The door chimes. I don't even need to look up to know it's her. Something changes in the room the second that chime sounds. A pressure shift, like right before a storm breaks. The air going thick and still all at once. I hear wet footsteps crossing the tile. Slow, deliberate, not hurried at all. I keep my eyes down, locked on her boots the entire time. Muddy, soaked completely through, dripping small dark puddles onto the floor. Even though it hadn't rained once that entire week, not a single drop. I count out 4 quarters from the register with my pulse hammering so hard I can feel it in my jaw. I slide them across the counter and I say exactly what the sheet told me to say. Word for word, nothing added, nothing left out. The dryer is finished. She doesn't move right away, doesn't take them. I can feel her standing there, still, watching me, and every single part of my body wants to look up, just to check, just to understand what I'm actually dealing with after 5 nights of nothing but rules and no explanations. I don't look up. I stare at those muddy boots until my eyes actually start to burn from not blinking. Finally, she takes the quarters. I hear the coins scrape off the counter, one at a time. And as she turns toward the door, a voice comes out of her. Cold, raspy, and almost amused, like she's genuinely pleased with me. Smart boy. When I finally do look up, a full second too late, the doorway was empty. No chime, no sound of the door swinging shut, just gone, like she'd never been standing there at all. That's when the power cuts out. The whole building goes black, except for the dull red glow of the exit sign over the door. and every washing machine in that store starts running at once. On, off, spinning, all of them, even the ones sitting empty, even the ones that weren't plugged into anything. There's no rule for this. I had read that sheet a dozen times by then, practically had it memorized. There is no rule for what to do when the power goes out. I only had my phone flashlight, and the battery was already down to 11%. I'm standing in the middle of a pitch black laundromat with machines screaming from every direction at once, metal grinding against metal. And I remember thinking with a kind of terrible clarity, I am going to die in here if I don't do something in the next 30 seconds. The breaker box was in the back hallway, the one hallway I'd been avoiding all week, ever since my name got called from back there. I didn't have a choice anymore. I ran. Halfway down that hallway, I heard it. My name. Clear. Close. Closer than it had ever sounded before. From somewhere just behind my left shoulder, in that same wrong voice from before, except now it wasn't just calling, it was following. I didn't turn around. I couldn't make myself turn around. I hit the breaker box, hands fumbling in the dark, flipped every switch I could find at once, and the lights came back on the exact same second the voice behind me went silent. Dead silence. Every machine stopped. I stood there in that hallway for a long moment, chest heaving, not daring to move, waiting for something to happen. Nothing did. When I finally forced myself to turn around, the hallway behind me was completely empty. I didn't check anything else after that. I didn't count heads. I didn't walk anywhere near Machine 7. I didn't look at the front door in case she was standing there again. I just grabbed my bag from behind the counter and walked straight out the front entrance, and I did not look back once, not even to lock the door behind me. The sun was already starting to come up when I got outside, the sky going that pale gray-blue color right before sunrise. I left the keys sitting on the counter where I'd found them. I never went back for my last paycheck, even though it would have covered almost half my rent. I blocked the number the manager had texted me from, and I have not walked down that street since, even when it would have saved me 15 minutes getting home. I still don't know what was actually in that building, or what was following those rules right alongside me every single night I worked there. I just know that laminated sheet knew things no normal person should ever have had to write down in the first place. The exact timing, the exact words, the exact number of quarters. There's one thing I never told anyone, not even when I was telling this story to friends afterward. That older woman folding towels my very first night, the one who never said a word to me, I never saw her again after that shift. Not once in all 5 nights that followed. I didn't think about her again until about a month later, walking past the bulletin board outside a coffee shop a few blocks from that laundromat, and seeing a missing person flyer stapled up near the top, faded like it had been there a while. I only looked at it for a second. I told myself the face wasn't familiar enough to be sure of anything. I didn't stop to read the name. I'm still not sure why. And I know that whatever's still in there doesn't need someone behind the counter to keep following those rules. It just needs someone who doesn't.